Trying to boost my subscribers, I'm trying to maintain the vision. People that know me close just live different than what they show me. It's hard to feel like they know me when I'm just scrolling through images. Truth be told, I feel pain, but I'm on the pinnacle. Been chasing this music thing for a minute though. Know some good people that never see success. And here I am sitting worried about show appearances.
Hello everyone, I'm Angeline and she's Risa, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 156 of With the Quickness.
Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday indeed. Today we're going to share our takeaways from the May 11th, 2025 sermons given at First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey, and Ebenezer African Methodist Episcopal Church in Fort Washington, Maryland. So Risa, what was your big takeaway from First Baptist this week?
My takeaway was God's grace combined with our trust and obedience can bring about breakthroughs that transform our lives.
Okay. My takeaway was if we're feeling overwhelmed, we need to remember it's not a reflection of weakness. We must recognize that our struggles are valid and shared by many. What is your big takeaway from Ebenezer AME Church?
My takeaway was whether praying for a child, a breakthrough, or a miracle, women should never doubt God's ability to deliver.
Okay, mine is mothers' prayers are weapons of faith, shaping the next generation and leaving behind legacies of love and diligence. So we're going to get into those sermons a little later in the show. But right now, it's time for Risa's playlist. So Risa, what's the song of the week this week?
Are we ready? It's time.
We narrowed it down to one song. This is Song of the Week, currently featured on With the Quickness Spotify playlist.
So the song of the week this week is actually by Ariel Fitz-Patrick. The song is called Angel. This song was new to me. I just heard it recently. It has like this R&B, like laid back vibe. And for those of you that, if her name sounds familiar, it's because Ariel is known for her TikTok reels and her TikTok and Instagram reels of, she'll do little skits about like God and she'll make it funny. So I honestly had no idea that she had a song out, so I wanted to support it. I did listen to it. I do like it. She is signed to Motown Gospel, and last year she actually released an album titled Who Do You Love? That also came out. So if you haven't heard it, please go ahead and check it out. It is also on Spotify. So I wanted to basically support Ariel and also show some love to the song Angels, because the song Angels is a pretty good song.
I've seen Ariel on social media. I see her on my YouTube feed. The algorithms kind of bring her in for me because I always like how she does those little skits where she plays the three characters. She plays herself, she plays God, and she plays her angel that, are trying to help her direct her life in the right direction. And sometimes she could be a little rebellious when God tells her to do stuff. And sometimes she's paying attention and she's on the path. But I like the skits. The skits are really, really cute.
Yeah, I also love the skits too. Like, it's really funny, like, especially when she's like being rebellious and like she's basically saying or implying that God may not like it, or, God's trying to redirect you. So those are ones that I like the most, that are funny to me.
Yeah, and her catchphrase is, I'll see for myself, right?
Right.
Yeah, she says that a lot. She has been talking about her song Angels a lot, so I'm hoping she's getting good airplay on it. I'm not sure though, because I don't really listen to the XM stations as much as I listen to our own streaming. So I hope she's really getting good, feedback on the song, and I hope she's ranking well in the contemporary Christian charts.
Well, from what I've seen on her Facebook, like, a lot of her fans are saying that they love the song. She also has a video. She put out the official video on her YouTube channel. So it's been getting a lot of good feedback from what I've seen so far.
I'm so excited for her. This is a wonderful time for her. And it came out in the spring. It's such a spring, summer kind of song too.
Yeah, it really is. It's definitely a song that I could see myself playing in my car driving somewhere. So I love it.
Well, I thank you for adding it to the season 4 playlist, our playlist, and also the mega mix, the people that want to take a chance to listen to her. And we're going to try to get her video up on our website. So those that haven't heard the song yet, they can actually check it out. But thank you so much, Risa. We really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's move over to the bulk of our show. Let's go over to First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens. Sunday service was all about mothers. You know, the praise and worship team welcomed the saints into our service, and they actually had the little children's choir performing, which was great. We don't get to hear from them very often, so when you do, it makes you want to sit on the edge of your seat and pay attention. We also gave 27 people the right hand of passage on this Mother's Day Sunday. The mothers looked great in the congregation this Sunday, didn't they, Risa?
They did. They definitely showed out with their, Sunday's best and the church hats. I love the church hats.
Exactly. Well, this Sunday, Pastor Quick's sermon was called "I Ain't the One." Is that a phrase you've heard a lot of mothers say when they get a little ticked off at what their kids are up to?
Yeah, it's, I like to say it is a warning to let you know that, they are not the one to play with or mess with.
I haven't used that phrase myself, have I? Have I used that at all? I can't even recall.
Honestly, I've never heard you say it. I've heard other people say it.
I think the one time I got pushed to the point, the one phrase I said, which I think you remember from your childhood, is what? Because you always teased me about when I said it.
Yeah, you always say, if you want to go, we can go. I've heard that. Like, that's the one I've heard.
Yeah, it took me a while to get pushed to the point where I was like, if you want to go, we can go.
Yeah, and the only reason why I remembered that moment so vividly was because, like, when you said it, it's like you had wind in the hair, so the hair flew back. Like, it was a very much like a diva moment. So I was just like,
yeah, it takes a lot for mothers to get pushed there. Sometimes some mothers can go there quite readily, but I'm one of those mothers. It takes me a minute to get like, you trying to take me out of my character. You trying to take me out of my character. That, and then once you get to that point, it's like it's on, and you have to get that warning shot. Like Pastor Quick said, some mothers say, "I'm not the one," and my phrase was, "If you want to go, we can go," because that's the DC in me,
I honestly feel like I've heard that like amongst my peers. Like I know in high school and college, I've heard that whole "I'm not the one" because basically that was them giving somebody a verbal warning before it got physical, or if they're not having a good day, they're just like, "Listen, I'm not the one."
Don't play it. Don't push that narrative. I'm not the one. Yeah.
Because I want to say from my college experience, I would hear that term a lot right after ad drop period when people would not get funding or whatever the case may be. So that's when I would hear it a lot. People are like, "I'm not the one. I had a bad day. My check didn't go through, or the class I wanted didn't go through." So it's like, let's not.
And most of you guys in your generation as millennials got it from your parents, your mother.
Yeah.
To tell the truth, you've heard it in the home somewhere.
Right.
Like, "I'm not the one to be played with. I'm not the one that's, going to believe your little lies your little friends believe." Like all those little phrases that you heard growing up, you guys kind of took it and packaged it up for yourselves in your own way.
Right. Like there's I feel like that phrase, it could be very PG or it could be very debaucherous depending on, how you say it. Because there was an incident at one of my jobs, I'm not going to say where someone did say that, and it actually, they said it, and it ended up being this huge HR issue because
hopefully they didn't say it to their boss. Could you imagine saying that to your own boss or your supervisor? That is the worst. You're just asking to be fired.
Well, I can't remember the exact what. Well, basically what happened was one of my bosses had went to the employee and basically said to her like, "Oh, do you know the entire phrase of 'I'm not the one'?" And she basically said the whole phrase, but it's not for PG audiences. So then when my boss realized that she knew what she said and how basically in corporate America that could be deemed as a threat, she got let go. So it was
because if you're gonna take the time to say the rest of the phrase, and the phrase might have an expletive in it or might imply a threat or bodily harm to someone, then you're going to be dismissed. So to keep it as "I ain't the one" is probably the best thing to do if you decide to react in some way at work that you shouldn't. Don't explain what "I ain't the one" supposed to be. You don't explain it. Say, it's a phrase I've heard. I'm not that sure.
Right, right.
Vain ignorance because your job is on the line.
Yeah, like now that I think about it, like I feel like questions like that, like you gotta just be like, oh, I don't know. I just
Plead the fifth. Plead the
plead the
fifth.
fifth. I don't know.
I'm not saying anything on the grounds that might incriminate me. Well, the sermon was titled, I Ain't the One. The speaker was Reverend Dr. Danté R. Quick. The scripture he referred to this Sunday was 1 Kings 17, verses 12 through 24 of the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. This passage of scripture tells a story of a widow and her son who encounter the prophet Elijah during a time of great famine in Israel. In this story, we see an incredible display of faith and provision as God uses Elijah to perform several miracles for the widow and her family. The first miracle is when he asked her for water and food. Despite knowing she only had enough flour and oil left for one final meal before they would surely face starvation. However, despite her dire circumstances, the widow showed extraordinary generosity by offering what little she had to this stranger. As an act of obedience to God's command, Elijah then promised that her supply of flour and oil would not run dry until the rain fell again on the land. What followed was nothing short of miraculous, because every day, regardless of how much they used, there was always enough flour and oil left. But tragedy struck this widow's son, and he became gravely ill. In desperation, she turned to Elijah, who prayed fervently for God's healing power to be poured out upon her son. And yet another miraculous display of divine intervention occurred. The boy was brought back to life. I love that story about faith. And I'm so glad it was the scripture that he actually used to not only shed light on the faith of a mother, but how these times are really hard right now, Risa. She was praying for, enough flour and oil to sustain her family. And a lot of us are praying for better finances and resources ourselves.
Right. I feel like that's like a constant prayer that I've heard a lot nowadays because like every week there's something that's happening and there's been talks about possibly having some type of some type of like stock issue because obviously with all of the tariffs happening and things of that sort, so there are basically everyone is just praying for things to get better so they can just make it through to the next day.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about people getting their wages garnished for student loans that need to be repaid. They're talking about the prices of everything going up tremendously, like you said, because of tariffs. So everyone is pretty much saying, I'm trying to make do with what little I have. And for someone to come along and say, well, I have less than you. Can you help me? It makes all of us take pause like, well, can I help? And to have enough faith to say, yeah, I can still extend myself, even though it might be at the detriment of myself. That's hard. And this was a widow that was preparing herself and her child to die. She only had enough for them and they were going to die after that meal or be facing starvation at that point, Mm-hmm. So it's a beautiful story about putting your trust. And Pastor Quick kind of made us ask ourselves, and weigh the daily struggles and if they're too much to bear. It was the heart of Pastor Quick's very moving Mother's Day sermon. It's where he reflected on the resilience required to endure life's relentless challenges and the faith that can lead us through our darkest times. Pastor Quick began by acknowledging the daily pressures we face, from personal hardships to societal injustices. And he shone a light on unique burdens that are shouldered by Black mothers, caretakers, and those confronting systematic inequalities. His message was very clear. Feeling overwhelmed is not a reflection of weakness, but rather a reality shaped by forces often beyond our control. He encouraged his congregants to recognize that their struggles are valid and shared by all. I think that was important for him to say that, Risa, because sometimes when you're going through things, you forget that there's other people in the struggle. I think that's what's so important about Christians coming together in community every Sunday and talking with one another and sharing your testimony. You'll realize as you're cutting coupons, so is, the sister over here and the brother over here, or as you're, trying to take care of the shoes you have for another season instead of buying new ones. This lady over here is doing the same thing with her sons whose feet are growing so rapidly, trying to extend what they wear.
Yeah, like that's one of the things that I've realized as of lately. Like everyone that's coming out and just like talking about what they're going through, like they all have said community is something that everyone needs, and because it does help you realize like you're not going through it alone. Like we're all going through this together, and we're all gonna like if we band together, we could like make it through.
Yeah, and it makes us have a greater depth of empathy for each other too. That whole thinking that everyone has it all together and you're the only one, it goes out the window when you start talking and recognizing my struggle mirrors her struggle that mirrors his struggle.
I agree.
Now, through vivid metaphors and powerful biblical stories, Pastor Quick showed how God often uses what appears to be broken and insufficient to create something incredible. Using the story of Elijah and the widow from Scripture, he illustrated how faith can turn moments of despair into opportunities of restoration. The widow, preparing for her last meal during a famine, found provision and renewal when she welcomed the man of God into her home. Pastor Quick connected this to our modern lives by reminding us to stay open to the unexpected ways God can provide. The sermon also offered historical and personal insights. There was a point in the sermon where Pastor Quick recounted the story of a homeless man that he once knew, a former physicist who lost everything after a tragedy. It was a very humbling reminder of life's unpredictability. He wove poetry references to the courage of leaders like Congressman Bonnie Watson Coleman and his own testimony of reversing his pre diabetic diagnosis through faith and action, urging all of us to balance prayer with personal accountability. I think that's so important to remind us that, it's not just about having faith and praying alone. Faith without works is dead. We have to, work in conjunction. I mean, the Holy Ghost will prompt us. You can't just sit on the couch and say, there's not enough money, Lord, it's not enough money, Lord, but you're also not looking for any work. You gotta help him, well, I don't want to say help him because God, if he wanted to just give you a bunch of money in the mail, he could do that, right? Or have somebody come and knock on your door and drop off a basket full of money. If he wanted to do that, he could do it. But to let him know, yes, I have a need, but I know what talents and gifts you've given me, and I'm trying my best. If this is the plan and this is the way you want us to have the additional income, please bless it. He likes plans. I think God likes plans. That's been my personal opinion. It's not in the scriptures anywhere. I don't think it could be. But I always felt that he kind of likes it when you kind of put a plan together and go before the throne and say, so thinking about doing this, God, what do you think? What do you think, Risa?
I think he does like that. And I also think too that he also gives you like different resources to utilize. So even if you're in a problem, if you really sit and like be still and actually realize what things that you have around you that could like help you get out of this
Mm-hmm.
situation, like then you could realize that okay, like I'm not stuck. Like I do have other resources that can like help me get out of this.
Yeah. And to think that, like Pastor Quick was talking about his pre-diabetes, he could have the diagnosis and then keep eating the same way and he would still be in a pre-diabetic state. He knew that, yes, I have this diagnosis, but it is reversible. Just like we have to know with our finances or with, health, with, even our faith, having stronger faith. If we do certain things and have certain actions, we can improve our circumstances. He can improve his diabetic situation by not having, you know, processed sugar, only having natural sugars. He can, or maybe even staying away from natural sugars for a while. I'm not sure. But when it comes to jobs, looking for jobs. When it comes to faith, reading your scriptures more, praying more fervently. Because some people think, I'm struggling in my faith. The first thing you need to ask yourselves is how often are you opening your scriptures? Are you going to Bible study? Do you have your own Bible study? Do you read your scriptures at all? Do you have a Bible? Some people are like, I don't have a good faith, but they don't even own a Bible. So it's things of that sort that can help us have more personal accountability.
Right. I think everything goes back to choices. Like you have to decide like how exactly do you want your life to go. I think about how you had told me like a long, long time ago. You were like basically what you had said was, when I'm old and gray and I'm looking back on my life, what exactly do I want to see? And I
Mm.
think about that today because I try to live in now, but I think about that today when I'm like plagued with certain situations or certain choices. Like depending on how I want my life to go and how I want the playback to be, I make different choices.
Yeah, the funeral review. I tell a
Hmm.
lot of my students, and I've told you and your sister the same thing. You got to think about when people are gathered together at the end of your life to talk about you as a person and what impact you had in their lives. What do you want them to say? And you can't control what everybody says, but you can definitely make sure you're very intentional about how you lived your life. So yeah, you think about the people that you were kind to. You think about what you did for a living, how you spoke about people when they weren't around, how you helped people. And as a person in the community or as a person in the family, were you a person that could be relied upon or would give a listening ear? If you didn't have very much, were you a great listener? Or did you have good empathy? Were you kind? Or did you kick people's dogs when you walk down the street? Like, what kind of person you want to be portrayed as, right?
Right.
So if you think about those things, and people don't think about the end of their lives, they think about the now. Society tells you, tomorrow, don't worry about tomorrow, worry about now. And the bad thing about that is it makes you not have accountability with how you lived your lives. Because in the end, we'll all be, before the throne of God, and He knows our beginning and our end. And some of those things I think He's going to ask us to say, what were you thinking here? Tell me about what was your mindset about that decision, or when you said this to so and so. I think He might call a couple of things up, jog our memories. So if you're going through it, I think it's good to, be more cognizant of we're not all going to be here forever.
Right. Like those are the things that I do think about from time to time when it's like, okay, when I'm at the end of my life and I'm, sitting with Jesus in the council and they're like you just said, so what exactly was your mindset when you sat there and you said this or did this? I don't want to sit there and be like, again, and that's not to say that I want to be perfect, but
No.
I know for me, my main thing is that I want to make sure the core of who I am, people can see that.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I used to believe that since they said God knows our beginning and end. I always used to think it'd be like standing in front of these big TVs where He would just play my life really fast. And because we're all highly intelligent, and we're right now on this earth, humans don't use all of our brain capacity, right? So I'm thinking up there in heaven, when He shows me my life review, He's gonna take it from the beginning all the way to the end, and He's gonna play it real fast, but I'm gonna be able to process it. And I might like what I see and I might not. But I think He's going to go pretty fast and say, what do you have to say for yourself after watching what I've seen? And I think it's not only going to have me seeing what I did, it's also going to have my impact on other people. I'll be able to feel what my impact was on other people. Like if I hurt somebody, if I was nice to somebody, if I was being snarky, if I was being, empathetic. I think as I'm watching the review, I will feel different things too. Because that would be justice in a way. Like if you hurt somebody to feel at some point in your life what you did to them is justice.
But
Um,
see, I feel
that's just a
like
little kid in me. It's not, I'm sorry, that's not in the scriptures anywhere. That's just how I thought as a kid that God might do it. But I don't know what God will do.
right, and I was gonna say like I feel that in real time, like meaning like I don't like being mean to people because I immediately feel horrible
Yeah.
after the fact. So I'm just like, if I can avoid it, which I really try my best not to, but some days I get tested, and
Yeah.
then sometimes I fail those tests, but I do feel bad immediately afterwards. So,
Yeah, but there's some things we don't know we did that hurt people. Like you cut somebody off in traffic. And are you thinking, oh, excuse me? You're not thinking, maybe, you added to their frustration or something.
yeah, it's almost like that movie that you had me watch a long time ago. I forgot what it was called, but it was about that little boy. It was like the ripple effect, and he did like
Hmm.
one small thing, and how like it changed like the entire town, and like
Yeah.
yeah, like if you haven't seen it, definitely go see it because
I
you
think it was one of
see
our movies of the week. I think it was. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like 'cause I saw it like a long time ago with you, of course, and it basically just showed how one small act can impact like a entire like community of people for the
You see
better.
those kind of stories too a lot at Christmas time. How
Yeah.
one person's good deed can add like that kind of passing it forward. It kind of ripples through. And for a while, our country even had, pay it forward. Remember how you go to drive through and somebody had already paid for you in front, like, oh, let me pay for them. People were doing nice stuff. Yeah, those days seem like such a long time ago.
Yeah, because I want to say the last time I had that happen to me was like I want to say it was like probably right before the pandemic, and maybe I had like one incident after that it happened, but
Yeah.
it's far and few in between that we have like those, oh, the person in front of you just paid for you. Do you want to? It's far and few.
Yeah, that's true. Well, going back to the sermon, Pastor Quick reminded his congregation to approach others with empathy rather than judgment, noting that everybody carries untold burdens. His message was one of hope. He encouraged those feeling overwhelmed to rely on both faith and resilience while taking steps to align actions with their prayers. Pastor Quick's final words echoed this belief that God's grace combined with our trust and obedience can bring about breakthroughs that transform our lives. For those that are navigating life's heavy challenges, Pastor Quick's sermon is a poignant reminder of the power of humility, prayer, and active faith to guide us towards renewal and profound lessons in grace. It was a really great sermon, one that made all the mothers present and the rest of the congregants pretty happy to hear. It was one where we felt seen, felt heard, and understood. It's a message of encouragement, perfected for reflection and discussion. So if you get a chance, please check Reverend Dr. Danté R. Quick's sermon, I Ain't the One, that was streamed live on May 11th, 2025 on the FBC Somerset YouTube channel. Please, when you get a moment, we would like you to check it out. Now, let's go on to Ebenezer African Methodist Episcopal Church in Fort Washington, Maryland. They also posted a May 11th, 2025 sermon that I think you'll enjoy. For the mothers, it was titled A Mother's Prayer. The speaker was Reverend Dr. Grainger Brown Jr., senior pastor. The scriptures he referred to was 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, and Luke chapter 1, verses 45 through 55 of the New Living Translation of the Bible. Both of these passages of scripture focus on praising and glorifying God. In these verses, Hannah and Mary both expressed their gratitude to God for his blessing in their lives. Now, in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, Hannah rejoices in God's faithfulness after being blessed with her son, Samuel. She acknowledges that it was only through God's power and grace that she was able to conceive. This passage here, it serves as a reminder of the importance of having faith in God and trusting in his plans. Now, similarly, in Luke chapter 1, verses 45 through 55, this is known as Mary's Song or the Magnificat. In this passage, Mary praises God for choosing her to be the mother of Jesus, despite her humble background. She also reflects on how God has shown mercy to all those who fear him and how he will bring down the proud while uplifting the humble. Both of these passages serve as a powerful reminder for believers to always put their trust in God and give thanks for all his blessings. So it was a perfect way to introduce Pastor Brown's sermon, A Mother's Prayer. Now, Risa, those two women in the scriptures, when you think about them, you think about complete faith. And so for me, it's like I kind of had a good feeling when he read them. I knew what I was going to be in store for, like how the powerful prayer of mothers can move mountains kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because I've heard, like, because I honestly, when you said the book of Luke, I just got to the book of Luke, but I have heard people throughout my lives, and even like when I watch different documentaries, they'll say like, my mother prayed for me or my grandmother prayed for this, like I'm living out like the prayers of my mother, grandmother, what have you. So I do believe that a mother's prayer or a grandmother's prayer is very powerful.
Yeah, that's true. Now, Pastor Browning delivered a powerful and deeply reflective sermon that celebrated the extraordinary role women play in God's plan. Now, he began his sermon by reflecting on the appointment of Pope Leo XIV and how Catholics have uplifted women as intercessors for a very long time, contrasting this practice with Protestant tradition. Yet his central message was clear. God has always worked through women, using their strength, faith, and resilience for greater purposes. Now, Pastor Browning, he also pointed out that the quiet, unshakable strength of Rosa Parks, whose courage in the civil rights movement echoes the resilience of many family matriarchs. He reminded us that society, particularly in the United States, has often looked down on women of color, while other cultures revere their women. And despite these societal challenges, African American mothers, with their steadfast faith and constant prayers, have still become the backbone of their families and communities. Right, Reese? I mean, I can't think of one book, show, movie that featured a Black mother that was like the pillar of her community or family that didn't kind of like, have a strong impact on the culture, on the Black culture. We can like name our favorite mothers just by the things we've watched throughout the years.
Yeah, like I think like when you just said that, I thought about Vivian from The Fresh Prince as a mom that
Hmm.
I liked. Another
I think
one
of
that I
Claire Huxtable
liked,
from The Cosby
yeah,
Show. She's a mother I grew up
Claire
on and liked.
Huxtable. Right. Like there's a lot of like Black mothers that, we have seen portrayed in TV shows and movies and even, within our own communities that we're just like, yeah, if it wasn't for,
Hmm.
Miss So and so, I don't know how this community would be like, still thriving.
There's something actually regal when you see a certain mother walk through a society or a community and people stop on the street and they know her. Like that happened to my Aunt Shirley. Remember, we were meeting with her and with
Hmm.
my cousins, Sheila and her daughter, Latia, and people stopped and they knew my aunt. And they knew her in the community and they knew of her, not only because of the family she belongs to, because kind of the woman she is. She is a church and one of the church mothers of her church. And so there's a certain amount of respect and revere for those women that are so elegant and that also carry their faith. Almost like a beautiful robe. They kind of carry it on them. You kind of see it. Right, Risa?
Right. Like there is like this, I want to say like unspoken like regalness that they have. And you're just like, yeah, like that's so and so. Like they're very respected. Anyone that is like introduced to them, like they just know to be on your P's and Q's, but they're cool. But you're just like, let me give you my respect because I know that you're like, you're a part of our community.
Yeah. I mean, that's one beautiful thing about being called a matriarch. Not every woman in the family is automatically designated the matriarch. Just because you're the oldest doesn't mean the family has designated you as the matriarch. Sometimes it can fall to the younger sister. It's all about the person in the family that kind of does things that kind of hold the family together and who people turn to when they seek help or advice. There's something about that person that makes them, they kind of become the matriarch. Sometimes it's the older sister, but a lot of times it's the one that just embodies what the family needed, you know, and become the backbone in a certain way, right?
Right. And that actually reminds me of one of our Black iconic movies, Soul Food,
Mm-hmm.
where basically the matriarch, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, but the matriarch obviously passes away. And I believe it involves three sisters, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken.
Yep.
And throughout the course of the movie, like you can see the dynamics, and obviously people have their favorites, but, some would assume that because there is a daughter who is the oldest, she's the matriarch, but then you see, well, actually, it could be the middle sister. I believe that was played by
Vivica Fox's character, I think.
Vivica A. Fox, and she was basically explaining because there's a point in the movie where Vivica A. Fox's character is explaining all of the sacrifices that she has done to keep the family together. But then
Mm-hmm.
the older sister at one point jumps in, which I believe was Vanessa Williams,
Yeah,
and then and
Terry. She
then
played the role of Terry, I think. Yeah.
yeah, and then she also talks about what she has done, and then the baby, which was played by Nia Long, also explains what she has done. So
Yeah.
it really depends, like you said, like who exactly is who God would designate to be the matriarch.
Or who the family even is leaning on
Right.
as the backbone. Sometimes you might want to be seen as that because I am the older one. I'm the one that took care of the funeral. I'm the one that was the executor of the estate. Whatever because you've done certain things. But it doesn't mean you're the heart of the family. The matriarch is also the kind of the heart of the family.
Right.
The person you turn to when you want that pat on the back, the person you turn to when you're having a difficult time, and they have that ear. They'll pray for you. They have faith in you. They, lift you up. Sometimes that is the older person. Sometimes it's just not.
Right. Like I do agree that like I think some people, especially some of the people that are older, just automatically assume because I'm the oldest, I should get it. And it's like this role in the family, it's not a power role. Like you said, you are the person that everyone goes to because they know that like at the core of you is like you're trying to keep everyone together. You are the peacemaker. It's not about, oh, I'm the oldest. I do everything first. No.
Yeah, and I think that's important to say because sometimes the getting the title of matriarch is such a heavy title, and you didn't ask for it, but it kind of got bestowed on you. And other people are trying to get the title, like the other siblings. Other sisters might say, "Well, I should be seen as because I'm the oldest," but it's like it's just naturally defaulting to a person that everyone is saying you have the heart of grandma, or you are doing things the way is helping and lifting and edifying me and uniting our family. So it kind of gets bestowed, and you can't really like take off the crown when it's given to you. I mean, you could try, but people are not going to let you because why? You have the heart of a matriarch. You just do.
Right. And the more that I think about it, to me, I feel like a matriarch is a thankless job. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't self-proclaim yourself to be the matriarch and then tell everybody, "Oh, well, you should be thanking me," because that's not what it is.
No,
Like a matriarch to
it's
me,
not
like you
being a
said,
martyr for the family. That's
yeah,
not the matriarch. Is not being a martyr and doing everything and wanting to praise. That's not what it is.
right. It's like a matriarch is that person that's like when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're having like a health scare, you call that person because you know they're going to be there. Or this person is like, if you get into trouble, like you're going to call that person because you know they're not going to tell you off in the moment, but they are going to help you get through it. But then once it's done, they're going to help you put your life back together. They are that person willing to do the stuff that nobody else wants to do, but they don't hold it over your head to make you feel like, oh, you should be thanking me. And like it's not. It is a thankless job.
It really is because you extend yourself so much. Now, drawing on scripture, Pastor Browning shared a story of Hannah, a barren woman who poured out her heart to the Lord and vowed to dedicate her son to God's will. Her faith and prayers not only brought her a child, but also revealed the unimaginable power of a praying mother. He emphasized that prayers heal and restore, urging all women to take their burdens to God with unwavering belief in his promises. The sermon also touched on the contrast of how women are portrayed in modern media versus God given dignity and purpose. Pastor Browning called on women to reject these superficial portrayals and instead stand firm as daughters of God, shining examples of faith, grace, and perseverance. It was kind of like a little hush over Jerusalem when he got to that part, Risa, because everybody knows they've been watching these housewives and there's a bunch of debauchery going on. And he's right. He's like, that is not the ideal of womanhood. That should not be revered and held up, even though, you know, media is telling us that's what the women are like these days. He's saying, no, God has always seen us differently with more dignity and more purpose than all that catfighting on these franchises.
Right. That's the thing. It's like I need people to understand, for those that don't know about reality TV, maybe you started it young. Like the people that are like hired for these shows, they're hired to basically bring entertainment. So the entertainment that we would normally get from scripted shows by like actors that went to school, they're now finding people that didn't go to acting school that like to be a little extra for the camera in order to get viewership so they can get more money. All women do not like to make like a blanket statement and say, oh, the women from the housewives, that's how all females are. All females are not poor communicators. There are a portion that aren't good communicators, just like how there's a portion of men that are not a good communicators.
And there's people that are reactionary and there's people that are more,
Right.
thoughtful and mindful about the things they say and do.
Right.
Gotcha.
So it's just like, reality TV, it shows like a small portion of a community, but it's not the entire community of people.
I think the hard thing about it for a lot of people, a lot of pastors and men and women of God, is that we have such a young generation that are TV babies and computer babies. And that's how they get their interaction and the way they look at the world. So it can give you a warped perception. And the other thing is, a lot of other cultures in other countries, they watch American TV and they really think that some of the stuff they're seeing is the actual portrayal, even though we know there's stereotypes and stuff like that and a lot of exaggerations. They think, oh, that's how it is. That's how those type of people are, men, women,
Right.
or whatever colors and creeds and races that they are.
Right. And it's funny that you say that too, because when I was in college and I was working at a dining hall, and again, filled with all different kinds of people from different walks of life. There was this one woman who was from the Middle East who was at my school studying for her major, and we were talking, like we became friends, and she was asking me because over I forgot where she was from in the Middle East, but she was saying how she was watching like a certain a certain network, and there was like this betrayal of Black people, and I was just like, no, that's not how we all are. That was just for that movie. But she
Yeah.
just, it was like, it was one of those innocent things where she just thought, because like, oh well, the movie said, you guys are like this, and I was like, no, that's just for that character. We're all not like that. Like, there are, like, Black people are not monolithic, just like how for other races they're not monolithic. Like, we, of course, there are some common threads amongst certain races and cultures and things of that sort, but we're all not the same. We do have differences.
Definitely, definitely. Pastor Browning, he reminded us that timeless examples of Mary, the mother of Jesus, and how her faith allowed God to work through her in extraordinary ways, and of enslaved mothers who clung to God's promise to sustain their families. These stories are a testament of God's faithfulness and love, which continues to sustain us through tribulations. Pastor Browning's message is just a constant, poignant reminder that God's gifted every woman with purpose and power. Whether we're praying for a child, a breakthrough, or a miracle, women should never doubt God's ability to deliver. He encourages mothers to see their prayers as weapons of faith, shaping the next generation and leaving behind legacies of love and diligence. Above all, he urged us to praise the Lord for his goodness, even in the face of life's trials, because his promises never fail. You can view Reverend Dr. Grainger Brown Jr.'s sermon, A Mother's Prayer, on the Ebenezer AME Church's YouTube channel. Please, when you get a moment, check it out. I really like the sermons of today, Risa. I think mothers were really highlighted and celebrated, don't you?
Yeah, I agree. They definitely did a good job of basically explaining how important and how crucial mothers are.
Yeah, and I appreciated how you helped celebrate me for Mother's Day. I mean, you went out of your way to make sure I had a good Mother's Day, and I got to really thank you for that, because I know being the oldest daughter is like, what am I going to do this year for her, you know?
Yes, being the firstborn daughter, there's actually a thread on social media about that, but I won't get into it. But yes, being the
Really?
first, no, it's a whole, we'll be here for 40 to 40 nights. It's a whole thing. But yes, I wanted to make sure that you felt appreciated and loved on Mother's Day, so I tried my best.
Thank you. I really enjoyed going out to brunch with you and, church stuff with you, or just everything. I mean, doing the podcast has been a delight every week with you that we've been doing it. And even though we took breaks and stuff too, I can't imagine doing this podcast with anybody else, honestly. I mean, your insight and your laughter and your joy. And I just can't imagine, anyone else doing your segments but you.
I appreciate that, and I also could not imagine myself doing this with anybody else but you. So I do appreciate all the hard work that you do behind the scenes as well.
Oh, thank you, dear. So now let's go into one of my favorite parts of the day. Risa, who's the dove of the day today?
It's time to celebrate an amazing person doing amazing things in this world. This is Dove of the Day.
So today's Dove of the Day is brought to you by Prayer Bowls. The recipient of Dove of the Day is a 11-year-old by the name of Mandy Eggleston. She is hailed as a hero for saving her family from a house fire caused by a lightning strike on April 30th in Oklahoma City. While at home with her mother, Jamie, and younger brother Ryan, Mandy heard a loud boom and quickly checked on her family, realizing their house was filling with smoke. Despite the chaos, she kept her calm, pushed her injured mother towards the exit, and called 911 for help. The family's home was severely damaged, but they expressed gratitude to the first responders, with Chief Greg Lindsay praising Mandy for her quick thinking and bravery. Now, after this fire, the family was going to move out of Oklahoma City, but because of the kindness from the community, they decided that they're not going to leave, and they're actually going to rebuild their house, and they want to stay.
Oh, wow. Little Maddie. She heard that boom and she got everybody out of there, even her injured mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that had to be very scary, because everybody knows when smoke fills any room, it's hard to see. It's really hard to see.
X. Like one of my favorite scripted shows is 911 on ABC. So it follows like this fire department, and also it stars Angela Bassett. She plays a police officer, and her husband in the show is a firefighter who is like, you know, over this fire station, and like the two basically work together. So you'll see different episodes that like will be mostly about the firefighters or mostly about the police work or a mixture of the two. So I say that all to say, like, when you see that the different instances of like fire and how like the smoke can be very debilitating, like I'm very thankful that Maddie was able to get her family out. Like in the article, it did say that she lost 2 cats from the fire, but you know, and so I, of course, my condolences go out to the 2 cats that are like no longer with us, but I'm also thankful that she was able to get her family out.
Yeah, because people consider their pets like their family too. So I know it's heartbreaking that she was not able to keep them, but I'm really hoping that when this family settles again, that she'll be able to have a new kitten in her life.
Right.
Maybe even give it a name that's very in honor of the 2 that she no longer has. But wow, what a touching story, Risa. What a great Dove of the Day. She deserves to be Dove of the Day.
She really does. Like I was proud. Honestly, when I read the article, I thought about the numerous like fire safety protocols I used to have as a kid. So the fact that 11, that she knew exactly what to do when she got everybody out, because normally they tell you when you're younger, you know, they give you like the protocol and they say like once everybody's out, like don't go back in for any like pets, items, none of that. Just stay outside and wait for the, you know, and call 911 if you can to get a firefighter to come and like take out the fire. So she definitely followed the rules to a T.
Well, great. If anything, this story should also remind all of us to check all of our fire alarms, you know, and smoke detectors and everything to make sure that our families are safe, because we don't think about it until we hear them making that beeping sound, or, you know, you're cooking the wrong thing and they go off because they're too sensitive. But we really need to think about it. Don't unplug them. We need to keep them working and make sure they work well.
No, I agree, because I think the only time that I remember that I have one is when I'm cooking. And let's just say, like, for example, like 2 weeks ago, I used like smoked paprika. And of course, if I don't have my kitchen ventilated, it'll make my fire alarm go off. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I have one of these.
The trials of being a cook, I tell you.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Risa, for your Dove today. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Now let's move on to the screening room.
It's time for that weekly movie review in the screening room.
Okay, today's screening room, I watched a movie that was on Peacock. Now, Peacock is not a sponsor of the podcast, but, you know, it's a good place to watch some, you know, faith-based viewing. And I watched a movie that came out in 2014. So it was a long time ago, but I never saw it before. It was called My Other Mother, trying to keep in line with Mother's Day. It's a story by Kendra Kiki McKnight. It was directed by Stan Foster. It stars Essence Atkins, Lynn Whitfield, Jasmine Guy, Todd Anthony Mangano, Angie Stone, and others. Now, here's a brief synopsis. Now, have you ever wondered what it would be like to search for the missing pieces of your past? Well, My Other Mother tells a powerful story of Candy, a driven morning TV host that's played by the incredible Essence Atkins. She sets out on an emotional quest to reconnect with her biological roots after learning she was adopted. Now, Candy's relentless pursuit starts with a shocking encounter at her biological father's funeral. It soon becomes apparent that beneath Candy's polished exterior lies a longing she just can't ignore. She wants to find the woman who gave her up for adoption. Things get complicated when Cindy sits with the members of her biological family at her father's funeral. And imagine her shock, Risa, when her birth mother, Mary Jo, storms in and takes a watch off of her late father's wrist during the funeral. And then she storms out. Like, is that intriguing or what? Candy's relentless determination to uncover the truth leads to an emotional revelations about why her mother gave her up the way she did. And just when you think you got the whole story figured out, Candy's manager, her loyal manager, Lewis, confesses that he has feelings for her that go far beyond their work. So I like the story so much, Risa. From the family dynamics to the unexpected revelations, this film was like all kind of roller coasters. It could have been written a little better in some places, but the characters did their best. I mean, Jasmine Geisen, I remember her from A Different World and a lot of other things, and you know, Essence and Angie Stone. She played a widow in it, and she was really good for her short part. She was really good. I hope you give it a chance to watch it.
Absolutely. Like, I'm definitely gonna give it a watch. It kind of reminds me of one of my all-time favorite movies, Kingdom Come, that has like Whoopi Goldberg and Vivica A. Fox and Toni Braxton. So I'll definitely give this one a watch as well.
You really should. The themes of this movie are identity, family, unexpected love, life choices, mother-daughter dynamic, and overcoming challenges. You can watch My Other Mother on Peacock like I did, or Amazon Prime Video, Fandango at home, or YouTube TV. And we'll have the trailer for you set up at www.withthequickness.com. I enjoyed it a lot. I think since it was Mother's Day, I was in a Mother's Day kind of mood. And I didn't want to watch the typical things I've watched before. So that's why I gave it a shot. I said, let me see what faith-based movies are out there that deal with mothers. And when I saw that Jasmine Guy and Angie Stone and Essence Atkins were all in the same movie, I said, oh, let me give this a try. I never saw this movie. I'm like, what they got Angie Stone doing?
Yeah, because now that I think about it, I'm like, do we even have a quote unquote like official Mother's Day movie? I don't think we do.
Well, like you mentioned, Soul Food. I mean, that song Mama by Boyz II Men is on the soundtrack. We think of that movie. And then there's a lot of Medea movies that people like to watch. But do we have an official Mother's movie that we all watch?
And you know what?
In the Black community? I don't know if we do.
It's funny that you say that too, because obviously Sunday was Mother's Day. And as we all know, anyone that has social media, everyone was posting their moms, which is fine. But someone posted their mom, and they had the Boyz II Men Dear Mama song. I almost started crying because I can't play that song.
They had Dear Mama by Tupac, or they had Mama by Boyz II Men?
By Boyz II Men. So
okay, like, Mama, yeah.
Like I can't listen to that song, so I'll start crying.
That song is so touching. It reminds me of, my mother-in-law, it reminds me of my mom, it reminds me of all the mothers that kind of did so much.
Right. That's why I want to cry every time. Like, I can't listen to that song. I can't listen to Luther Vandross Dance with My Father. I will cry every time. I'm just like,
Every bride likes to dance with her dad on that song at their weddings. That's the perfect father-daughter dance song. Is Luther.
Right. And then what made it even worse at least with Luther, because right after, so I want to say maybe last month when they had his documentary and they explained the story behind it. Now I really can't play it. I was like, nope. I will cry. I'll cry a puddle of tears. No.
Yeah. But I think that's the beautiful thing about, movies and songs and dances that are, really expressive. It's supposed to tug at the heartstrings. To know a dancer's up there doing a dance that she, composed for her mother that's no longer with us, or to hear a song that somebody wrote for their parent, or to look at a piece of art that somebody, painted on behalf of their father that was struggling with a cancer, recovering from cancer. It's supposed to move you. It's supposed to make you go, wow, So yeah, I think you might not be able to listen to it now. Mm-hmm. But at one point, those songs will give you comfort. You'll remember the memory of your dad dancing with you at your wedding when that right guy comes along, and he better come along pretty soon because my daughter is, she's deserving of a great guy in her life. That's just me saying. I'm just saying, if he out there, he better come along. I mean, he could already be here. This is very private. She don't tell me things. But I'm just saying, you're just a delight to me. And I know that, that song's going to mean something to you in the future, It will. Yeah. It might be hard to listen to now, but I think in the future you'll like listening to it.
Yeah, I think so. I just think, now that I think about it too, I'm like, because those songs both came out in the 90s, mm-hmm. I haven't heard anything else like that since then. I guess my generation was like, we're not going to do any more sad songs. We're just going to do...
Oh, wow. I never thought about it. Has anybody else come out with a mom or a dad song celebrating their parents?
Not like that.
Oh, wow.
No.
Yeah, I think after Tupac and Boyz II Men and Luther, man.
No, I haven't heard a song like that. I really think for my generation, they said we're gonna stop doing these sad songs because it's too much. It's too
Well,
much.
maybe it's in contemporary gospel. Might be more songs. We're just not thinking about them. Maybe people of
Yeah, they
faith
might.
have put out songs about their parents that we haven't come across yet.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that
Or maybe country. I think there's a couple country songs that talk about their moms and dads too. I
one
think
thing
Carrie
about
Underwood had
country.
a song about her mother that I loved so much. I think back in the day, I remember her singing a song and her mom being in the video. If I knew the name of it, I would say it right now, but I don't know the name. But I remember liking that song.
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing about country. They gonna tell you a story because I do
Mm-hmm.
remember Carrie Underwood because you brought her up. Like she had a song about catching somebody cheating. She had a song
Be
about
nice to
God
her.
taking
She's
the
on American
wheel.
Idol right now.
No,
She's
I
busy
love
working.
her. No, I love her. I'm giving her praise. Like they tell good stories. I be sitting there like that
She came
happened
out
to
with
you.
Jesus Take the Wheel. That was her first big hit.
Yeah, like I'll never forget the one video like my sister had me watch, and it was like the wife was like she was at the funeral of her husband, but apparently the mistress came the same day. And she found out on her husband's funeral that her husband was having an affair, and I was like,
Oh no. That's
and I
very
was
like
like
a soap
shocked.
opera.
Yeah, and it was brings I bring this up to say I didn't realize how great the storytelling was in country because the last time I played a country song was like Shania Twain, like when I was younger. So I kind of like fell off, but I was like, oh, the
Yeah, your
storytelling.
great grandfather loved country. Dolly
Yeah.
Parton was his girl because the way she told stories, man. I mean, so a
Mhm.
lot of people people think country is just for people of a certain race. It's not. It's for all of us. So he lived in Georgia. He was born in Georgia and lived in Florida,
Mhm.
and he loved country. He loved any good music that told a story. And to be able to close your eyes and hear a story and relate to it and tap your foot, that was all it right there. And nowadays, what's the song everybody's doing the line dance to? That everybody's like getting ready for Beyonce, but this guy's song Boots on the what is it called,
Oh yeah,
Lisa?
boots on the ground.
Boots on
Something
the
like that.
ground. So like,
Yeah,
don't act
with the
like y'all don't like
fan.
country. Everybody likes country. When you hear that song, I've seen people of all races doing that line dance with those little fans in their hands.
Yeah, listen, I okay. Well, maybe I did say for a small period of time that I didn't like country. Because want to know why?
Why?
Because the songs that I heard around that time, I just wasn't feeling it. Because at the time, too, when I was in high school, one of my really, really, really good guy friends, he's like my brother. He would always play country music. I was like, please, I can't do it. It's like because it would be the same type of songs. I was just over it. But now that I'm older and I'm wiser, Marvin Sapp, I can appreciate country music now from different artists, especially from the women, because they definitely tell like a lot of good stories.
Girl, when I went to college and I first heard Garth Brooks when he was first starting and he was like on that tear where he was like the number one male country singer for a lot of years, no one could tell me nothing about. He was my man. Garth Brooks could tell a story, Thunder Rolls, all that. I was right there for it. He got me into watching the country videos and watching the country award shows. Why? Because I wanted to see what he had to say. I wanted to see what Carrie had to say. All the ones, Keith Urban, I got big on him. So it got to the point where my foray into country was because of the storytelling he did, because he
Mm-hmm.
crossed boundaries. A lot of people that hadn't heard very much about country, they heard, who's this Garth Brooks guy that's tearing up the country scene? Because he even at one time did rock. He put on an
Oh
alter
wow.
ego and did a rock album. And I was like, yo.
Yeah, because like for me, like my foray was only Shania Twain, and that was because of you. So I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
okay. But now that I'm older, and I'm just like, okay, like yes, R&B will always be in my heart.
Hmm.
But now that like people, now that the artists are getting older and they're doing documentaries, and I'm like, okay, let me watch that. Like I watched the Shania Twain documentary, which then led me down this like rabbit hole of her music, and then Faith Hill, and
Hmm.
then Tim McGraw, and like you said, Keith Urban and Trisha
The Dixie Chicks that are now just the Chicks.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
all of them.
Chicks,
They got
and then
really
like
popular.
the Judds and
The
all that. So
Judds.
I've
Oh
been
my gosh, the
yeah.
harmony of the Judds. Mama, he's crazy. Telling a story. I mean,
Hmm.
when you think about, and now we have so many more people of color stepping in the country.
Yes,
You got to
Mickey
give it a
Guyton.
chance. You got to give it a
Yeah,
chance.
yeah.
I mean, you got to support those that are out there doing their best. I mean, I think it's great that Beyonce won her Country Album of the Year Grammy Award, but there's a lot of other people out there singing too, and they deserve a shot. So enjoy her concert, guys, but keep doing that boots on the ground line step and listen to the rest of the country music out there with that's on the radios now.
I still haven't learned that dance. Like I see it and it's cute, but I don't have a fan, so I have to get a fan at the concert or something.
I have a fan. We can practice this weekend if you want to. We can practice the song. Because if I saw our former vice president, Kamala Harris, she was practicing it with somebody. She said, I don't know how to do it. Can you show me? And she's pretty good because she's a sorority sister. So she kind of knows about stepping and learning some steps. So she was pretty good.
Right. Like I actually I can recall that video because the guy that she did it with, like he's like really, really big into politics. So he was able to do something with her. And at the end he was like, let's do this dance. So I was surprised that she did it, but happy because I was like, oh, this is great. She learned how to do it. And she's a very quick learner. So I was like, wow.
Yeah, I think that goes back to her college days when she was on that line, learning those steps for the step show. When you had to have a little rhythm, they kind of make you learn rhythm on that line. But she did wonderful, and I think she reminded all of us to have fun. Dancing is about fun too.
It is.
It used to be back in the day when you would see that they had a free dance lesson or something. A guy when he's taking a girl out, he's like, "Oh, let's go over here and do this free lesson as one of their dates." But now, I mean, a guy be like, he tried to take a girl on a date. She was like, what are you trying to do? Make me, sweat out my hair? And do you know these shoes are uncomfortable? And the girls got we have all these restrictions on what we want to do, on dates. Well, so it's kind of hard for some guys to say, let's go do something fun because you're worried about what if you put them in a situation they're not comfortable in.
Right. Because I was going to say, like, don't get me wrong. I think that'd be a great date idea, but I don't want to embarrass myself. Because listen, yes, in my mind, I think I could dance like, Beyonce, but I know it's not the case in real life. So I'm just like, I don't want to sit there and trip over because I'm clumsy too. So I'm just like, oh man.
But what if the gentleman said, we both don't know how to, I don't know anything about let's say they're going to teach you the rumba or teach you the cha-cha-cha or even a line dance, a country line dance. Neither one of you know it. So you're both going in not knowing something. I think for me, when you see someone out of their element, learning something, you see very quickly what frustrates them and if they can laugh at themselves and if they can let their guard down. It lets you know what to look out for. Because if some people go from 0 to 10 getting upset about being taken out of their comfort zone, that's a bit of a red flag.
Well, yeah, and we don't want those type of red flags.
Yeah, so you don't have to put a bungee cord on her back and push her off a building. But you can make her do some things or you can make him do some things they're not used to doing. Like take a line dance. Well, let's go do a picnic in the park. Well, I don't like bugs. No worries. We see a bug, I'll make sure it doesn't get on you. Like they can do some things that make beyond the movie and the dinner and the movie. Something beyond the dinner and the movie.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like my only hard line is like I don't do wild animals. So the zoo is like a no for me. So I just no.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's a lot of walking in the zoo too. Some zoos, but some zoos are bigger than others. Some are very small little petting zoos, and some are just like, we're gonna go here and look at the turtles and go home, or something like that.
Yeah, like I can do the whole like those aquariums. I could do that, but like when the animals are like in the cages, like a fear of mine is like the animal getting out of the cage, and I'm just like, I have enough.
Well, that's weird because you love the Atlanta Aquarium.
Right. So yeah,
that was nice. That was kind of all behind glass and things. You like that?
Yeah, I could do that. I just don't like when they're because like okay, so when I was younger, I had to be in elementary school, and I think we went to the Cape May Zoo, and the zoo was outside, so you could like obviously walk and see the animals. I don't know what happened, but there was like one animal in particular that was like behind the cage, and it got a little aggressive, and I was just like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go because I feel like this animal's about to like bust out. I can't. I don't want to take that chance. I want to go home.
Yeah. So. I've watched enough Animal Planet to be like,
yeah.
When it comes to the zoo, the smells, the long walking, I'm like, I'd rather walk through a botanical garden instead.
That's how I feel. Like if I really want to learn about an animal, shout out to Steve Irwin. I'll watch the Animal Planet. His kids are, doing their own spots on that. I'll watch that. It's behind a glass in my house.
And you don't smell nothing different in your in your air. I got you, girl. Like the air is still as pure as it was when you first turned on the channel.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I hope all of you will give the movie a try. I really enjoyed it, and even though we took a little foray into other things, I think it's great family viewing and to actually look into your past and make sense of it. That kind of resonated with me too, because recently I went on a little bit of a journey about my family, due to discovering who my father is and the family and all that kind of stuff and who's connected with that. It's kind of unnerving at first to put together that you have family out there and additional siblings you didn't know about. But then I like the fact that she didn't give up when the mother didn't want to talk to her. She didn't give up. When she wanted to find out the truth and it wasn't what she thought it was going to be, she still didn't give up. That's the hardest thing about putting the piece together about the past. But if you can have the fortitude to go through with it, some things God wants you to go through in order to get the blessing on the other side, it's a good thing. So I think you should give it a shot. If you haven't watched it recently, give it a shot. Watch My Other Mother.
I absolutely will.
Okay. Now let's go on to Before the Bema Seat.
Come before the Bema seat. Come before the Bema seat. When life's journeys meet. Every week, testimony of the one who brings hope and victory. With joy and reverence, we will sing our praises to the King of Kings, the Bema seat. Come before the Bema seat, the Bema seat. Come before the Bema seat.
Today, Jack Kunkle's story is one of profound struggle, redemption, and miraculous intervention.
Oh.
For years, smoking had been a part of Jack Kunkle's life, starting from his youth until he finally quit in 1985. But the years of damage couldn't be undone. By 1997, Jack was diagnosed with emphysema, a condition that quickly took over his life. By 1999, even climbing a flight of stairs became an insurmountable challenge. His every movement was deliberate and strained, reduced to crawling from room to room. His reality was one of dependency for 5 long years. And for those 5 long years, he was tethered to an oxygen tank for 24 hours a day, a constant reminder of his frailty. Jack's life became a series of sacrifices. He could no longer take long walks, no longer enjoy simple outings, or even share the important family moments. Restaurants became off limits when smoking or cooking smells kind of overwhelmed him. Conversations were cut short because his lungs would struggle for air. A painful irony for a man who spent most of his career as an auctioneer. He had effortlessly rattled off words at lightning speed, but now he can't. That were once a mundane routine now required someone's assistance. The moisture in the air made breathing even harder. At nights, nights were spent sleeping upright in a chair instead of in his nice bed, and family vacations were mere memories. His body failed him in seemingly endless ways, leaving him to mourn the life he once knew. But in 2003, something extraordinary happened. Jack met a remarkable team of doctors at the Ohio State University Hospital, led by Dr. Patrick Ross Jr. They conducted every test imaginable before delivering the words Jack had longed to hear. He was a candidate for a lung transplant. Not long after, Jack was introduced to the Lifeline of Ohio team, the organization that finds doctors for individuals like him. And suddenly, there was hope, a chance for a future not defined by an oxygen tank. Then it came on May the 31st, 2004, Memorial Day. It was the day that Jack would never forget. Dr. Ross called with the news that changed everything. A lung donor had been found, one that matched Jack perfectly. And 3 days later, the transplant was complete. The oxygen tank that had been his constant companion was finally set aside. And for the first time in years, Jack could breathe on his own. This wasn't just a medical procedure, it was nothing short of a miracle. Now, Jack often speaks of his donor with deep reverence, calling them his earth angel. He doesn't even know their name, their age, their gender, or their background. But you know what? None of that matters. What matters is the incredible gift they gave him. That person, Jack says, saved my life and allowed me to truly live again. He marvels at the dual nature of the miracle, knowing that this donor didn't just save him, but someone else as well. Jack received the left lung, but another recipient now thrives with the right one. Two lives renewed, two families restored. Today, Jack has reclaimed the fullness of life. He shovels snow off his driveway, he drives himself around town, and even dreams of mowing the lawn in the Florida sunshine. Most importantly, he cherishes his time with his family. He plays on the floor with his youngest grandchildren, and he attends school events for the older ones. Cooking these days has now become a joy once more, and he's even practiced his auctioneer chant again, hoping to lend his voice to a benefit auction pretty soon. Jack's story is more than survival. It's a testament to the power of faith, generosity, and community. He firmly believes in miracles and sees himself as living proof of God's work through the human hand. The donor who gave him a second chance at life is his hero, a symbol of selflessness and grace. And Jack often urges others to become an organ donor, reminding them of the life-changing impact they can have. You can be someone's miracle, he says with conviction, someone's earth angel. For Jack, every breath is a prayer of gratitude for his donor, the doctors and nurses at Ohio State University Medical Center, and for the Lifeline of Ohio. Through them, he was given more than a new lung. He was given a blessed chance to live, love, and inspire others to believe in the extraordinary. What do you think about that story, Risa? What a beautiful testimony from Jack, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, that just blew my mind. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, to have a quality of life go down so much due to smoking, and he stopped smoking and turned his life around, but to still have the side effects and the damage that he'd have to be on an oxygen tank. It's really hard. We see people on oxygen tanks all the time, but we never think about the things they can no longer do now that they're on those things.
Yeah, like it kind of reminds me of how, like, when I was younger, they used to run those tobacco commercials
Mm-hmm.
where they would show people who would have like severe cases of, like, they were smokers for, I think, maybe at this point probably like maybe 10 plus years, and they would say, like, oh, like they had one woman who had to get her tracheotomy taken
Mm-hmm.
out or something like that, so she had that missing. There was one commercial where the guy did have an oxygen tank, and he did explain like what basically his life was like. He could still live life, but there were certain things that he couldn't do because he had to, carry this oxygen tank with him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, it's an addiction. Nicotine is an addiction. I mean, the stuff in the cigarettes, it's not just you can smoke and it's just a choice. Sometimes you can be addicted to nicotine, and to actually break the habit is a hard thing to do, but it can be done. And they need support. Sometimes you can't be around the people that smoke, because it's just too hard for you, or you can't do the things that remind you of, lighting up a cigarette. So if you know anyone that is quitting smoking or trying to quit, don't be surprised if their boundaries change around the habit of smoking, like certain restaurants they can't go into, or be around certain people, or do certain activities that they normally would do with a cigarette in their hand. But it was a good story. I'm glad that Jack reminded all of us the importance of being donors, those that are interested in doing that. He said he only got one lung. So that means the other lung went to another person. So this donor actually helped, two people. And if this person gave more than one organ, for science or to benefit others, they could have impacted a multitude of lives.
Yeah, it's kind of like that movie that Will Smith was in called, was it 7 Pounds? Where his
Mm-hmm.
like, I never watched the movie. I didn't get a chance to, but I did like read about it, and it is like a
Mm-hmm.
very like powerful movie about the benefits of being a donor.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't think about it till somebody in your family really needs it. Like we all say, oh, that's a good thing. I might do it, but it doesn't hit you home until someone in your family really needs that donation and they're looking for a match desperately. Now, if you would like to share a story from your Christian experience, one that will inspire new and rededicated Christians, please visit www.withthequickness.com and select the Bema Seed tab. There you can fill out our interview form so we can schedule a virtual interview. You can also email bemaseat@withquickness.com to begin our guest process. So, Risa, another episode down. Oh my goodness, Mother's Day. It was a delight. It was a delight sharing it with you. I'm glad we had this time together.
Me too. We definitely made some more memories.
Definitely. Well, I hope the rest of your week goes really well for you and for everyone that's listening. And we are so grateful that you tuned in today. Our prayer for you is that God reveals to you that He is real and able to meet all your needs according to His glorious riches in Christ Jesus. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Goodbye now.
Bye, everyone.
I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you.
With everything crazy, you're still my source of peace. You filter out the lows, give me what I need.